Today, Monti Ossenfort spoke with the media. We are in the heart of the combine, and there's a lot of general managers being asked some very, very tough questions. There's some questions asked about the Arizona Cardinals' current state at quarterback. We're going to be diving into exactly what Monti Ossenfort said. And I quote, "We're going to look at every means, whether it's a quarterback or any other position. We never want to get to a point where we're just handing jobs out." So we're going to be diving into who the Cardinals could potentially go after via free agency, draft, or even trade. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack up the like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel, we're covering the Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. So, ladies and gentlemen, Monti Ossenfort was asked a very good question today, and it had to do with the current state of the quarterback group for the Cardinals heading into the 2025 season, and being the fact that he said that they don't want to get to a state where, they're just handing jobs out gives me real excitement for this offseason to see if the Cardinals can really address the quarterback 2 role heading into the 2025 season. Now, whether if you're one of those guys that feel like Clayton Tune did not get a fair crack, or you're ready to move off of Clayton Tune, or if you're just a guy that really wants to get a good quarterback competition in this training camp, hey, I think anything right now is on the table for the Arizona Cardinals, and I love the fact that we are going to address every single position on this roster. So, without further ado, let's go and dive right into some guys that I would love the Arizona Cardinals to potentially reach out for in this free agency class, draft, or maybe even via trade. So, let's go and dive right into it. We have 3 different categories that we want to dive into. You got a couple names here in red, but you got, for the most part, a lot of quarterbacks here in white. Now, I did have it in order in terms of intrigue for me. Obviously, free agency is going to be the less intriguing for me. Via draft is pretty intriguing, but via trade is, that's really very intriguing for me. But let's start off with free agency. Let's talk about the names in white first, and then we're going to talk about the name in red. So, Jameis Winston, right? A guy that has been a former first-round pick and is a guy that's still doing it, right? Now, keep in mind, if you're going to sit here and ask me if we're having a real quarterback competition between Jameis Winston and Kyler Murray, most likely Kyler Murray will win out that competition. But if you bring a guy like Jameis Winston in, you're going to get a guy that's a really good locker room guy, a guy that's going to probably win you a game or two if Kyler Murray needs to rest or, is unfortunately needing to miss a game or two. I feel like I have all the confidence in the world that Jameis Winston's going to be able to give you a very good 60 minutes of football and have a potential of winning a game or two, right? So Jameis Winston is definitely at the top of my list for free agency. Jacoby Brissett is one of those guys that I really do like as well, has spent a lot of time in the last years of his career as a backup quarterback, so he already knows this role as being a backup quarterback. Same thing I feel about him as well in terms of a quarterback competition. Kyler Murray most likely will beat out most of these guys here on this list, but what we're really looking for is a guy that's going to be able to motivate our current quarterback state and hopefully light a fire under him, right? Light a fire under him. So Jacoby Brissett is definitely up there as well for me. Then you got Tyler Huntley, which obviously is a free agent as well. One thing I like about him is that he's been backing up Lamar Jackson for a long time, at least 2 or 3 years now. And I feel like when Lamar Jackson needed some timeout or when they were just sitting starters down, I feel like he did a really good job. Like he came in here, subbed in, and it felt like he was moving the ball pretty darn efficiently. So Tyler Huntley, aka Snoop, I really do like the option of potentially bringing him in for like a 1 or 2 year deal. I don't think any of these guys are going to be very expensive. Now, obviously, Jameis Winston, I think, has had a lot of intrigue amongst the NFL world, so he might not be attainable for what the Cardinals probably want to provide to him. Jacoby Brissett might be available. Tyler Huntley might be available. But then you got the player there in red, Russell Wilson, right? Now, I had a lot of questions out there. I had a few comments already reached out to me saying things like Russell Wilson has been reported, that the Cardinals are he's going to come to the Cardinals. I don't know where everybody's hearing that. Maybe you're reading an article that says potential guys that could come to back up Kyler Murray. I'm right there with you. I feel like Russell Wilson can be a very good backup quarterback. But the thing with Russell Wilson is the fact that he's probably going to come in here to try to find a starting role. So if you're looking for an actual quarterback competition, I'm not going to come out here and say that Russell Wilson is going to beat out Kyler Murray, but as a guy that's been a starter in the NFL for years, and even in the Steelers, he's done a pretty darn good job. Now, yes, they struggled in the second half of the season for Steelers offense, but overall, probably the best quarterback that might be available. But hearing with what the Steelers GM has been saying, I think they're going to try everything in their power to potentially bring back Russell Wilson to the Steelers. If not, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, maybe one or the other, or heck, maybe even both. We don't know exactly the current state, but per their GM, he feels pretty confident that they are going to bring them back in. So I have them in red. It's not that I really want to go after Russell because he probably will most likely be the most expensive out of all the other three that we're talking about here on this list, but very, very intriguing guy for a potential, right? Potential backup quarterback here for the Cardinals, or heck, even mixing it up and throwing a quarterback competition out there. Now let's talk about via draft. Via draft, I think there's no surprise, especially if you're watching my videos. You know that I really do like a prospect in this year's draft, and that's going to be none other than Jackson Dart. There's no way that the Cardinals are going to be anywhere near to get a Shedeur Sanders or even a Cam Ward, and I don't think the Cardinals should even think that way. We're sitting at the 16th overall spot in the NFL draft, and I don't think anybody's even thinking we're even going to get those guys. So I don't have them on this list. I'm looking at guys that are probably most likely going to be attainable for the Cardinals to pick anywhere around maybe the third or fourth round pick. But Jackson Dart, at one point before we got into the combine hype, he was said to be probably a third or fourth round pick. Now we have some teams out there very, very intrigued with them, like the Jets. They potentially can reach out for him maybe in the first round or the second round. I don't see the Cardinals going the second round for Jackson Dart, so we might lose out on him, which is very, very unfortunate, but I'm excited to see what his career is going to look like in the NFL if he does get into a role where he's starting, right? Or if he takes a year off and develops and learns, that might be the best route for Jackson Dart, to sit behind a veteran and get all the molding he potentially can until he finally gets his opportunity, right? So Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, I don't know. There's just some intrigue there, right? I know there hasn't been a lot of hype, especially in this last college season for him, but a guy that's has a lot of potential, right? Good arm, a lot of potential with him. So I have him on there as a fourth rounder, but this is a guy next to him. I had a lot of comments about Will Howard out of Ohio State. There's a lot of intrigue amongst Cardinal fans. Big bodied, prototypical quarterback that has a pretty big arm on him as well. And he just won a national championship. And on top of that, he's got connection with Ohio State because obviously we now have their, I believe it was their O-line coach, now our O-line coach in Justin Fry. So the connection there is there, right? So Will Howard, maybe a fourth round pick, could potentially do it here for the Cardinals, or maybe even a potential trade up their fourth round pick to land him, but very intriguing there. Now, I do have Jalen Milroe in red. I want to be very clear. I'm not really a big fan of Jalen Milroe, but I'm excited to see what his season or what his career is going to look like. If he's going to be on a team that he's going to be able to develop, or if he's going to be on a team that they're just going to throw him into the fire. That's one thing I'm really, really intrigued to see where his, season goes or his career goes, right? Jalen Milroe at one point was going to be a top 15 draft pick. Now, with a lot of stuff that happened, especially in the struggles with Alabama, he definitely slipped, probably late first rounder, or if not, maybe early second rounders, depending of what team's going to take a plunge on him. Right now, the combine is this week. Maybe he might go crazy. Maybe he might be a top 15 pick here in the 2025 NFL draft. We don't know, but very intriguing. I don't want him per se, but I do like the idea of maybe, just maybe, if he falls far enough, maybe the Cardinals can take a flyer on a Jalen Milroe. Now, let's talk about via trade, shall we? Two guys that I really would love the Arizona Cardinals to potentially consider going after via trade. Joe Milton the third. Now, I know it says the second there. I apologize. It is Joe Milton the third. Now, for him, he only had like 1 year sample size, and we've only seen him, I believe, in one game. But man, did that game look really, really good here from Joe Milton. I'm telling you right now, if there's any chance the Cardinals could potentially even call and ask about him, I say the Cardinals do it. Why not? Why not take a flyer, especially on a late round pick, maybe a fourth round or a fifth round or something like that? Now, like I said, he looked really good in that game sample size that we saw, so maybe he might be a little bit more expensive. But Joe Milton III is actually looks pretty darn good. Poise in the pocket, got a really good arm, and he's got the athleticism to get out of the pocket. He's got a really, really good head on his shoulders, and I'm excited to see what happens and if there's a team that's going to potentially reach out for him. There was a report that came out that said that the Patriots are considering, right? They're not saying they're going to, but considering using him as a potential guy that they can trade to get more draft capital moving forward. So, hey, Cardinals, maybe, just maybe, I like the idea of potentially Joe Milton the third. And now the next and final guy I want to talk about is Malik Willis out of Green Bay. We've seen a good dosage of him, especially when Jordan Love needed to take, obviously, some time off to recover from injury. Another guy that can definitely come in here and give you some solid quarterback play, backup quarterback play, but he could definitely give you solid backup quarterback play and win you a game or two if needed. I love the idea of potentially bringing in a Malik Willis. I think he's a definitely fantastic player and could be a very solid backup quarterback to Kyler Murray in the 2025 season. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts overall on the state of what Monti Ossenfort has said recently about kind of everything's on the table? Let me know in the comments below. Is there a quarterback that you want? Let me know in the comments that I don't have on my list. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day and go Cardinals.